What is up? That was an instant cut. I didn't like that. It should have been a fade. But hey, instant cut, it is what it is. Welcome to the TraderPrad stream. How's everyone doing? Hopefully you guys had a great day today. We started off the week pretty hot, but Tuesday I got into a little bit of a tilt. We'll talk all about my tilt, why I got into a tilt. I guess my ego got hurt a little bit from the market, so I got upset from that, and because I got into a tilt, I made a very smart decision. We'll dive all into the psychology that went behind my day today, and how later on in the day, once my psyche was better, how I found the perfect trade to get into, which obviously you can see in the thumbnail, how I sniped that 4R trade on the QQQ short later on in the day. So was able to find a pretty solid trade later on to help me break even on the day and not get hurt at all. So yeah, we tried, didn't really work out, but at the end of the day we were at least not able to lose a shit ton of money with our tilt. So we'll dive all into that, and we'll also dive into all the market movers for tomorrow, possible trades for tomorrow, possibly take a look at some of the banks again that already announced earnings, and some of the other movers that are usual suspects, like our tech basket. We do have Netflix and Tesla earnings coming out tomorrow after hours, and our usual suspects like Apple, Microsoft, Carvana's, your Affirms, your Palantirs, and so on. So if you, for any chance, have a stock that's not in our watch list tomorrow and you want me to take a look at it for a possible trade, feel free to throw it in the chat, and I will keep taking a look at the chat like I am going to right now to see who's in there at the moment. And I see Cody, Sky, and TH all showing up, showing love. I appreciate it. How's everyone doing? Hopefully you guys had a great day today. Much better day than me, hopefully, but I can't complain when I'm flat on the day and not really losing a lot of money as I should have. So that's a pretty good plus sign in on that side, I guess, right? John coming in saying hello. What's up, John? How you doing, my friend? Nice to see you in the real live chat today. I do see your comments all the time in the offline chat, so I appreciate that. I appreciate the love. I appreciate that you watch them in the offline. Much love, or anyone that watches in the offline. You guys mean the world to me. All right. Why don't we get started for all the stocks for tomorrow that might be interesting to get into. But before we do that, we always start off the day with taking a look at how I traded the day today. So I'll start off with exactly how every single trade went with chronological order, with time, and how my psychology went throughout the day, and what I did later on in the day to save me a lot of money, which I would suggest a lot of people to do, right? All right, starting off with, we're going to go to Bank of America. Bank of America announced good earnings today. They had positive earnings report like every other bank did. And looking at that, I tried to take a simple little long in pre-market just to see if the stock would hold off on the opening drive itself and run up to the north side. Simple little long. The stock really starts plummeting to the downside, so I just market myself out. I say, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to be holding this trade anymore. Flatten position. On the way back up, I do see a lot of buying come in, but the stock really stalls near 27 on the 1 minute chart and then instantly goes back below. If you're watching the tape too, you'll see the tape print 27 multiple times and not really get above 27 and then get stuffed right back down. But then immediately we start bidding back up. There's higher bidders. The price of the bid keeps getting chased higher and higher, and the ask is at 27. So I figure if there's a trade over here, it's probably right now on the break of this 27 area. So I punch in the 27 long on the break. I set up an order for the break of 27 long. I get filled at 27.01, and I get a monster move to the north side. Sadly, I don't take my profits on the move to the north side, where the stock kind of finds this initial barrier. Later on, the stock does have a bigger move, but by that time I'm already tilted. So what happens over here, because I don't take most of my profits on the move up and I have to take my exits on the way down, I get a little bit upset over here, and then I flip into a short, and then the short doesn't work. So now I'm tilted. Now I don't have the read. I thought I had the read. I thought Bank of America was going to be a great trade on the day for me, and then at this point I just say, you know what, I'm not even gonna look at Bank of America anymore, turn off this position on the day, and then I go try to manage my next position or trade my next position on the day, which is JD, which has been weak couple days ago, better I think yesterday, and then weak today again. Looking at, you know, the day VWAP, yesterday's VWAP and so on, I see a little bit of weakness show up right around over here. So I punch short, I get a nice little move down, but at this point, you know, I'm way too tilted because of Bank of America and what happens on J&J. J&J has a monster sell-off off the earnings report itself in pre-market, but then starts showing some support off of a previous area that you see on the daily charts, and then starts bidding higher and higher, gets above the earnings VWAP, shows some buying above earnings VWAP, and then you start seeing the stock trying to reclaim a couple of the other VWAPs that we have set up on our charts too. So it looks like it was strong. So I start taking some more size on the way up. I'm able to see that there's a little bit of a level right around this 159 area on the daily charts. So right in front of that price point, I do set up some orders to take some profits. But once again, I don't take the full profits or more than 50% profits. So that ends up causing me to get more size on the way down over here. Really believe in this trade more than I really should have, I guess, because the earnings move was to the downside overall. The stock ended up giving up its move in pre-market, and it respected that pre-market bearishness, pre-market negativeness, and just sold off later on. So the tilt from J&J and the tilt from Bank of America made me completely closed the position on JD, and I also got stopped out on Nvidia right around the same time. Nvidia off the open, I think in pre-market itself actually sold off quite a bit, and then off the open sold off even more and more and more, and just continues to sell off. So I thought, hey, I'll pick it up when it comes back over here, and I see a little bit of weakness right around today's VWAP. And as you guys can see, I'm very patient on the trade, right? I'm very patient. I'm waiting for the stock to start curling back down. I'm getting picked up on the move down over here, and then it pops back up to give me more shares, which I didn't think would happen. So it pops back up, gives me more shares, then starts going back down. So I'm looking for profits, and I get stopped out. You know what? I would have taken this trade more. I would have taken this trade 100 out of 100 times, honestly, because if this had more weakness, we could see Nvidia really sell off on the day off of this catalyst. But it wasn't that weak of a catalyst, I guess, but it was down 5% on the day overall. So that's a pretty big move on Nvidia today, and I just wasn't able to catch the move. So getting stopped out over here, not being able to manage my Bank of America and my J&J position properly, made me just close my JD and just say, hey, I'm logging out. I am now going to log out of my trading platform and actually go log into the simulation platform instead. So moving out of live money, going into simulation at this point, and then I start making more trades. I don't have charts for any of these trades that I traded in simulation because all of them were just pure tilt based trading. So I feel like I don't even need to save them, and I probably should have, so I know what not to do in the future. But you know, on all of those trades off of those simulation platform trading that I did, some of them were like going long Rivian off 20, more shorts on Nvidia in the same area that you saw me take shorts previously. So just more tilt trading. Just thankfully I did it on simulation, learned some lessons off of there doing that at that moment, and to save myself from losing a lot of money. So if you ever feel tilted, if you ever feel like you just don't have the right read, and for any reason your ego, your feelings got hurt because you think you are Prastradamus and you have the crystal ball, right? My feelings got hurt, my ego got hurt, my feelings got hurt, and the market doesn't give a shit about your feelings. The market doesn't give a shit about your ego, right? It will put you in place, and it did for me. Thankfully, I mean, I'll tell you what, I ended down on the day notionally, down $4 on the day. I'll take it. That's a big dub in my book, and it's a basically break even / flat on the day for me. Could have been way worse. Thankfully, the next few trades that we will be showing you, which we did go back onto live after we stopped tilting on simulation and on live off the open, we went for a little walk, we came back, got some good sunlight. The vitamin D, is it C or D? That's sunlight. C is citrus, I think vitamin D. We got some good vitamin D coming in into our body over there during the after hour or noon time. We got some food in us, and then we were able to think clearly and actually make better decisions. And this is what the better decisions helped us do afterwards. Here comes the better trades. Let's just close this, and these are the two trades. These are the last two trades we took on the day, and these were honestly, in my opinion, the better trades, right? This area that we were talking about yesterday on S&P 500, the 437.50 area. If you look at it on the daily chart, the 437.50 area is a solid area on the hourly chart, on the daily chart. You take a look at it, and we will talk about it later on too. If for any reason this area was showing you some buying, and the market really wanted to break out of this area, then you want to look long, because there's a lot of room upside. The market already moved from near down 1% to almost being flat on the day for S&P 500. I think we actually turned positive at one point for the S&P 500, so a red to green move on the SPY today. So monster buying, and the strength that the market had was insane. Focusing on those key variables, I initially wanted to short this area. But how I just kept seeing the buying coming in, and a couple other moving indicators that I had, such as the 9-day moving average was showing you that it's a straight line to the upside, kind of indicating that there was a lot of buying happening in the market at the moment. So focusing on that, I just ignored the short thesis, and I got into a long on the S&P 500, got long more on the dips over here, and then had a nice little move up to the north side where I took some profits, and then later on I got stopped out on the move back down over here. This is where I guess you would have technically gone short, as the market does try to hold that significant area of the 1 hour chart, of the daily chart on the north side over here near 437.50, but then fails to have any real follow through to the north side. No follow through to the north side, comes back in and shows you rejection over here. This is where you want to be short. But because I was already so long biased on the SPY, and the SPY had turned positive on the day already, whereas the QQQ had not turned positive on the day, and the QQQ was not really at yesterday's high, whereas the SPY was basically at yesterday's high, I figured QQQs, which were already negative on the day, if the market was going to turn around, it was probably going to take QQQ all the way back down to today's VWAP and be a little bit heavier and cleaner and easier stock for me to get into for that moment. I ended up probably making that right decision at that moment. A lot of right decisions were made later on in the day compared to the first half of the day. So thank God for that. So, that long on SPY, it could have worked. If the market really wanted to keep going higher and higher, we could have seen that area get held up on SPYs and just move up to the north side. QQQs were basically rejecting yesterday's close right around these areas, and QQQ not really all the way back up to yesterday's high. We were pretty close there, but not all the way back up there. So the fact that the SPYs popped up and rejected and popped back down, QQQs were rejecting yesterday's close / the 370 area. I waited on the 5-minute chart for the first two candles to show up on the red side. I guess we can turn this off. For the first, where is it? Over here. Let's go here. On the QQQ, this is the 5-minute chart. So I waited for the first 2 candles to show up for me on the downside for red, and for the 9-day moving average, 9-period moving average. This is 5-minute chart, so 5-minute 9 moving average for the 5-minute chart, to stop having such a steep incline to the north side, showing you that there's tons of buying in the market at the moment, right? So once it starts curling, and I do see 2 beautiful red candles show up on the market. However, this candle did worry me a little bit. If you look at this candle, it shows you that the market did stuff down, but instantly buyers bid it right back up to the north side. So focusing on this pop over here, I'm able to take short and risk right around this high to this high. Technically, it was the high a day that I was risking. I'll be lying to say that I was risking this high. So it was around a 50-cent risk or so based on my entry. Now, after risking that, and the stock never really, threatening that high again, starts pushing to the downside, or the market, sorry, not the stock, QQQ, the NASDAQ 100, starts pushing to the downside. I start seeing the rejections of the 9-period EMA or SMA, I guess SMA, sorry, moving average, the 9 moving average rejection coming in, and we start pulling to the downside over here. So focusing on all of this information over here, and now that there's possible weakness coming in on this trade, I start trailing my stop. This is something that I learned from SMB Capital today, actually, on the way to work, where I was watching a video. I forget which video to be exact, but in that video they were talking about if there is a momentum trade happening in your direction, the best possible way for you to take the most profits that the stock would possibly give you is to trail the stop to the high of the last two candles. So if I got in right around over here near 369.50 and my stop was over here, once I start seeing the trade working for me, I start trailing my high to right there, 369.66. And then I start seeing the trade work even more. So now I'm trailing it to a little bit lower and a little bit lower and a little bit lower and a little bit lower. I just kept moving my stop down literally every 5 to 10 minutes based on where the highs were, and trying to capture the best I can of this move, just in case it popped from yesterday's VWAP or the day before that's VWAP and starts moving higher and higher. So focusing on that information over here that I learned from the SMB Capital video, I was able to bag a monster short. I mean, pretty much all the way to VWAP, and once it bounces off of today's VWAP and you know, kind of reclaims this little consolidation area, that just so happened to be, you know, not me picking and choosing exactly what level I want to put my stop, just trailing the stop to the high of the last two candles. It's that simple. If there is momentum in your direction and you're in the right area and you picked, you know, your first entry to be perfect, and then you're just trailing your stop in profit, that ended up being such a clean way to capture such a big move. Shout out to S&P Capital to me for pointing that out to me today, and for me to actually remembering that and executing out at some point. Some notes over here to possibly do better on this trade. I could have gotten back in on the move back up and rejecting that same area over here on the 1 minute chart, somewhere around over here possibly, once it moves back down, and I could have gotten more shares on the way back down, also getting a way better average, and then really getting stopped out on all my position once that moving 2-bar average, not 2-bar, the moving 2-bar high gets reclaimed. So shout out to, once again, SMB Capital, and some great areas for me to improve over here. So I want to obviously look for those spots. So possibly add over here, right there, and possible add over here in this area after you see a lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low setup in the chart. And then if the stock is showing you more weakness on the tape and not really able to hold you know, yesterday's VWAP or even 2 days ago's VWAP, and possible areas to short over there. But not really, I wouldn't really add it going into today's VWAP. That's kind of stupid. But somewhere around these two areas would be great spots to think about adding in the future if I ever do catch such a good short. Snipe that short, baby. Snipe short, sniper gang. So this trade and the SPY trade, both the trades, the only two profitable trades on the day for me, and I think I had 7 trades, 5 red, 2 positive, and the 2 positive stocks end up helping me break even on the day. So we'll take it. That's the shout out to the risk to reward scale that we were talking about, right? If you always look for those 3R, 4R trades, you can, on your bad days, on your tilt days, still end break even to barely getting hurt. And on your good days, if you can manage it and really trade well, those 4R trades, 5R trades, and on a really, really good day where all those trades end up being, you know, winners for you, you're laughing and just laughing straight to the bank. Ha 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 ha, right? So looking for those days. I think I'm so close to having something like that. So close to having like a near perfect execution day where I just wait patiently for every single trade and slap it and just make a shit ton of money, and just I get to feel good about myself for one day. I can't wait. I feel like I'm so close to that. This is a great tip. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think you're talking about the trailing your stop for every high of 2 bar if you're short, or on the low of every 2 bars if you're long. Yeah, shout out to S&B Capital, man. They teach you everything you need to know. The only channel on YouTube to learn about day trading or swing trading, not even my channel, but I respect you guys, you know, hitting the like and subscribe, is S&B Capital, period. There's no other channel out there Period. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. There's no other channel out there more valuable than SMB Capital. Period. 100%. Now that that's said and done, and we've done sucked S&B Capital's dick for a possible job down the future, let's get into the possible trades for tomorrow and all the stocks and all the levels that we are interested in. Starting with the earnings movers. So we have a bunch of stocks coming out with earnings today after hours, tomorrow pre-market. We already had earnings, a bunch of earnings come out today pre-market. Tomorrow after hours, we got a bunch of bank stocks that came out Monday and Friday. So we got a long list, and this list is going to just keep on evolving, keep on getting bigger and bigger. And this is what happens during earnings season, as the basket of stocks just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Thankfully, though, we get big tech coming up very soon. Netflix and Tesla right here, as you guys can see, Netflix and Tesla popping up on the radar for tomorrow after hours. We have all the levels for tomorrow ready for you to talk about. So why don't we start off with the movers that actually happened today with earnings after hours. It's going to be UAL. UAL looks like they had a positive earnings report overall. They did beat on revenue and earnings per share. I'm just going to quickly go over here to my second, third, fourth screen, whatever screen this is, and see if they guided in a different way. URL shares are trading lower after the company reported Q3 earnings and issued guidance. The company said EPS could be low as 1.5 if Tel Aviv flight suspensions last through the year end. Ooh, okay, that makes sense. So obviously the war kind of disrupting the flights to Israel, and UAL getting hurt from that. And I guess other airlines are also getting hurt from that. UAL, even with the positive earnings report, apparently moving to the downside in the after hours. So there is that after hour drop you were looking at. And if we were to, I mean, it kind of happened right after the close, but the volume came in much later. This is where the earnings dropped apparently. This is where the volume kicked in, but something happened much earlier. And see how the stock is basically respecting this move candle. But what if we were to put in from here? Does it look pretty much the same? No, it looks a little bit different. See, that's the you should technically be putting it off the big volume candle. And that looks much different than from here, which is a pretty big move, but not on a lot of volume, right? Pretty big move, but not on a lot of volume. This is the earnings move over here. That's the big volume move. So whoever is controlling the position off of that volume node is kind of where I want to mark it, and I want to call that the earnings AWAP for UAL. And then we'll see tomorrow if there's any respect of that level going into the open, and some negative news obviously coming in about the EPS possibly could be lower, and their revenue and their EPS, current EPS, wasn't really that big of a beat, wasn't like a ball out of the ballpark home run grand slam type of beat. So focusing on those variables over there, where did we actually drop in the after hours? Let's focus on that real quick again. 38.41. 38.41, which happens to be, Jesus, where are we? A level all the way down there that I haven't mapped in a long time. So let's actually pull up the chart. Maybe I did map it out. So right around here, 38.41, right around this low, right to the low of that move, I guess, and one of the recent lows too. And look at the moving averages showing you just straight decline to the downside, programmed selling, hedge funds offloading. They just don't want to hold positions like this, especially I guess because of the war. Ever since the war was announced, this was well before the war, holy smokes. But ever since the war, I guess even more program selling for them for that cause, and UAL just getting absolutely beat down sadly. More downside possibly. We could see this area breaking. Maybe this area breaks and we go test this 36.50, 37 area to the downside. But earnings was good, but the market is all about guidance and what happens future and the next move. And based on that next move, I think there's more downside left over here in UAL. And if UAL is going downside, there's possible more downside in DAL and AAL and probably CCL. So the whole travel sector as a bag could go down tomorrow with this UAL move. I wouldn't be sympathy trading all of those together at the same time. I think if you really want to look for the shorts, just go trade UAL. It might be the one with the most relative volume behind it. DAL recently announced earnings and they've been selling off ever since. CCL announced earnings and they've been selling off ever since. So UAL could join that party tomorrow and really go down to the downside. But I wouldn't be surprised if some of those levels that we just looked at on UAL hold up, because those are pretty good lows for possible hedge funds to think about buying up that position again, right? So you might want to think about that, although their guidance is bad. IBKR also announced earnings today after hours, and looks like they ended up coming out with a decent enough of a beat. Once again, not a monster beat, but the decent enough of a beat. But the guidance, let's see how the guidance helps them out. Looks like it did not help them out, and they plummeted to the downside in the after hours, somewhere near $82.50 over here for IBKR. Was that 82.50? Is that what I said? Yeah, 82.50. Yikes. So 82.50 is right around these areas. So looks like these areas are getting tested. Sadly, IBKR doesn't really bring in too much volume on some earnings days. It does pop up to 4 million shares or so. As you guys can see, the 20-day moving average is showing you right around 900,000 shares. So I'm not too interested in really trading IBKR tomorrow. But the fact that the stock is breaking levels, breaking previous 10-day levels or ranges that it's been stuck in, might give us some possible trades off of these areas to take a look at, as some of the historic levels are right now going to be tested against some of these buyers, some of these sellers. Maybe this earnings buyer over here will be tested again. So we'll see how the stock behaves on these moves down, and if there is actual volume for us to trade off of. If not, then it'll just be on the back burner. But IBKR did announce earnings and sold off today off of that number. So be ready to maybe see a good relative spike for us to spank that trade. Tomorrow pre-market, we have a bunch of stocks coming out with earnings report, and I have a page ready for you guys over here to talk about some of these moves. So starting off with, we have ASML, a $600 position, but a 3.7% move expected right off the earnings report itself. They closed at around $608 off the earnings report. They're expecting the stock to drop down to right around 586 or so, or pop up to 631. Now, what does that look like on a chart for us? ASML, we have a bunch of levels already mapped out. So let's take a look at see if one of these levels matches what the stock is predicting. It's predicting 631.28. 631.28. We don't really have a level from 620 to 640 over here, but they're talking about 621 somewhere, I guess, right around these highs, expecting to be tested on the positive earnings report, and a negative earnings report 585 to the downside. We don't really have a level to the downside past 592 or 600, all the way down to 564. So it looks like our levels are nowhere close to the options AI. Pretty rare that happens. Usually we nail them, but I guess we're not interested in any of those levels at the moment. I mean, the stock is decent enough in the volume for a stock that's $600-$700 of a price. Much better than IBKR. $85 price doesn't really do any volume. This one at least does 1 million shares on a 20-day average over here. But the ASML, man, pretty expensive. The spread might be crazy. The spread might be $1 itself. You might have to sometimes risk $3, $4, $5 in a chance of making $10 or so. So I mean, you want to be careful. You want to be careful if the spread gets nasty and if the ranges get wild too. So I mean, it will be on the watch list. I will be taking a look at it in pre-market to see if it gives me any opportunities to trade off of. But I'm not too keen on trading this one tomorrow pre-market. A couple other stocks that are coming out in pre-market, so we can close this one. It's going to be Morgan Stanley, I believe. Yeah, let me just put this watch list on my third, fourth, fifth screen that I have, so I don't have to keep flashing you guys with it. Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley coming up with the earnings report. Looks like a 3.3% move expected for these guys, and that comes out to be somewhere around. We have a couple levels over here. I mean, yeah, Morgan Stanley should join the party, right? It should join the earnings bandwagon party for all banks. Higher interest rates, better for banks, worse for their customers. That's just the nature of how the world revolves. That's just how the cookie crumbles, right? So at the moment, Morgan Stanley has a beautiful bottom right around 76. I love beautiful bottoms. Right around 77.61 for us to take a look at. And looks like, if it does come out with a negative number, they're expecting the stock to drop right down to those lows, probably in pre-market, and might give you some trades on the break of those lows. So take a look at that area right around 77.61, 77.29, the absolute 52-week low over here on the daily chart. And we got a pretty good consolidation high right around these boxes too, $80 to $81. If that area breaks, I mean, let's just call it 82, right? If this 81 to 82 area breaks and we start actually consolidating above 82, the stock can finally start trading higher once again and use the previous 52-week lows as support. Possible supply should turn back into demand as we had demand previously at those prices. So Morgan Stanley looking to pop into 82.95. Yeah, they're looking at the 83 somewhere right around these areas. Which is what we're looking for. We wanted to pop up above 82, hold above 82, find buyers above 82, at which point you might want to look for those longs and then run up. But if buyers don't show up at 82, you possibly want to be short in this position. The Morgan Stanley coming out with earnings report pre-market. Procter & Gamble, 2.7% move expected for Procter & Gamble, currently at $147. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, when the earnings report comes out, how drastic the numbers are. Is it a big surprise? Are the guidance in line, or is the guidance a big surprise to the positive or to the negative? So anything can really happen. But for PG, I think for the most part, they beat earnings. I mean, they haven't really lost earnings in a long time. Their last time they lost over here was in July 2022. I'm expecting them to join that same party, the same story that they've been writing forever and ever. So Procter & Gamble, look out for a possible beat over here, and they are looking for a 2.7% move in pre-market on that earnings number. I think on a positive earnings number, we could really get a bigger move over here right into the 50 period, 100 period EMA, which is about a $5, $4 move to the upside. And on a negative earnings report, a possible move right back into the lows over here near 143. Looks like a little bit of a whipsaw action below 143 all the way down to 140, 150. But you see buyers really stepping in around these lows on the daily chart and pushing the stock right back up. So a lot of buying apparently in these areas for us to take a look at if the stock ever does pull back on negative earnings report for us tomorrow. Procter & Gamble. US Bancorp. This one actually moved drastically today or throughout the day. I guess a little bit of, yeah, look at that. Right? So somebody knew something. Maybe we put it at the big volume. We'll put it at the big volume node. Somebody clearly knew something, and they started buying up the position right up going into the close, and the earnings coming out tomorrow. Here's the news. Is that a good news? It looked like bad news to me. They have to report quarterly or something to be in a category 2, but is category 2 a good thing or a bad thing? Looks like the news started hitting right around over here. I'm kind of interested in honestly from there. I thought it was just a big buyer coming in right before earnings, which is tomorrow pre-market, but it's not that. It was actually a new space catalyst. So this one we're gonna some category 2 news-based catalyst. I kind of want to put it off that big volume node. Honestly, that's what we're gonna do. Just leave it off the big volume node. I mean, that's a monster volume. This is the moving average right here, and you can see how much higher than that average is, that the dislocation from that average is that volume candle popping up. So looks like pretty important of a candle over there that I want to focus on to see how the stock behaves and reacts to that price tomorrow. And then tomorrow we'll have to put another one for the earnings move itself. So we'll wait and see what happens. But so far, positive catalyst, traded up today, and tomorrow's earnings could really take the stock in the higher side. Another bank stock, once again, possibly the same story, along with Morgan Stanley, which comes out tomorrow pre-market, but along with all the other banks that came out already. Goldman Sachs, Citi, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, JP Morgan, all popped up on earnings day. JP Morgan, however, a different story, and we'll talk about that very soon. USB over here, expected coming out with the 4.3% move, but I think based on the catalyst that we just saw, the news catalyst, and if the numbers come out really good tomorrow for US Bank Corp, there's a possibility that this 4.3 could be much higher, much higher. This website that I'm using is called Options AI. They do it off of some AI calculations based on how people are actually positioning themselves in the options world. So shout out to Options AI over there for helping us with an account. Another stock coming out with earnings tomorrow. I think this one's pre-market. No, this one's actually after hours. Did we look at everything pre-market? ASML, PG, MS, and USB. We did. Okay, perfect. So now we have some earnings for us to take a look at that are coming out tomorrow after hours. So why don't we start off with the less famous one? So that way I get to tease you guys for the more famous ones, right? Start off with Las Vegas Sands. Las Vegas Sands is $45. Did they split? Holy smokes, they got smoked. I remember the stock at 60s, 50s. They got smoked. And we're right around that area right now. Let me put that level right there. Let me put that level right there. So it looks like an inflection point where the stock is exactly at the moment, and you can see how it's right around this area's low. The EMAs are converging right around these two areas too, where the stock is kind of, waiting for indecision. It doesn't really know what it wants to do, and it will find out what it wants to do tomorrow pre-market. So possible move to the downside and a break of this area for an even bigger move off the earnings report. Possible move to the upside, and if it's a good earnings report and a really big earnings report catalyst, a possible bigger move to the 50 period EMA or the 100 period EMA, all the way up to $50/$52 over here on Las Vegas Sands. I'm expecting them to do good. I mean, casino, gambling, the house never loses. I'm expecting them to do good. We'll see what happens. But yeah, they got slapped recently big time. Not sure what the catalyst is. I guess something to do with Macau. Overall, they're expecting a 4.1% for LVS. Another less famous, it's not like they're not famous, they are pretty famous, Steel Dynamics, STLD, coming out with earnings report tomorrow after hours again. Keep in mind though, these numbers that I'm mentioning for some of these stocks that are announcing tomorrow after hours, these expected move numbers could be completely different going into the close tomorrow. So if you have any software that looks at implied volatility or expected moves, you might want to use that software if you are thinking about trading any of these stocks like STLD, Alcova, I think it's Alcova, yeah, Alcova, Las Vegas Sands, and obviously Tesla and Netflix. So STLD currently expected a 3.6% move, and they're looking to here's STLD, pretty solid range over here. Very little on volume, sadly, only 1 million shares every single day or so, but a pretty big spike over here for some reason. About 34 million shares traded on this day, somewhere right over here. But ever since then, the stock has died off. If for any reason earnings can bring in some volume, looks like it really doesn't bring in too much volume on earnings day, but if for any reason it does bring in some volume on earnings day, then there could be some trades, and it's a grandfather stock. Right? It's been stuck in a range. It's been dead. It's been boring. It's been doing nothing. So it looks like it's a boring boring dead stock. STLD. But earnings tomorrow after hours. Alcoa. Oh man, I remember these prices, and now we're down over here. So obviously, big sell-off on Alcoa, $27 at the moment. Earnings tomorrow after hours. I think Alcoa is expected at a 5.96% move overall expected over here for Alcoa. Those numbers can once again move as we're going into the close. This Tesla one does not want to load for us. So at the moment, we'll just skip over to Netflix for you guys because Netflix is being expected at 7.1%. And obviously, this is where all the fun begins, all the party, all the games are played on these big tech earnings moves. And that's where a lot of money can be made or lost. So be very careful if you're especially thinking about YOLOing on these earnings moves. Currently, the number is 7.1% for Netflix. Looks like a high of $381 or a low of $330, where the stock is currently trading off of, which is $355. But based on how the market moves tomorrow, if Netflix goes higher, if Tesla goes lower, whatever it is, those numbers could completely be different of where this high and where this low could go on Netflix and on Tesla. So you want to be very careful. Just take these numbers, what I'm saying at the moment for these after hour movers, lightly, and just kind of maybe put them in your notes somewhere if you really want to trade them. But don't make too many decisions off of these numbers, because these numbers will change. I'm promising you, they will change. This is just me giving you a quick little glance of what the expected move could be going into the after hours tomorrow. Netflix, obviously a big stock, trades around a lot every single day, along with Tesla, and both of them are going to kind of dictate where the market or where the tech stocks could go towards. Hopefully, Netflix helps the market out tomorrow. I think Tesla will announce another decent enough of an operating margin hit. Pretty obvious. They've been dropping the car prices every single day almost. So if they're doing that, it's kind of obvious that they're going to take a decent enough of a hit in the operating margin section. But more numbers like deliveries, maybe something about Cybertruck, or maybe something about the other trucks in general, maybe any new catalyst in general to come out from Tesla will help them out to kind of find those bottoms that we've been finding. A pretty good trend at the moment on the lower end over here. Where can I do that? I can do this. Pretty good trend being held on the daily chart, so maybe that trend can get respected and we find buyers and the stock goes higher tomorrow off that earnings move, and helps out to finally see that 300 coming into play, which we've been struggling to go see on Tesla. So keep an eye out for that. But on negatives earnings report, I will not be surprised to see the stock to push down, and I will not be surprised in the first place to see a negative earnings report because of that operating margins number hit that I'm expecting to come out on Tesla. Be careful if you are looking for the long side on TSLA, ladies and gentlemen. These are the positions for after hours tomorrow. Now we get to dive into the two positions that actually had earnings today. And shout out to Lockheed Martin, which we were talking about how we invested around $434.50. The stock is now at $441.13, up 0.16% on the day. It did pop up to $452. So I did say that, hey, I'm going to close somewhere around $450 to $460. I had that opportunity today, did not close it, made a bad decision over there. But if I do get another pop up into the north side, that'll be a pretty good exit for me into somewhere in these ranges over here for my swing trade long. Off that war catalyst allowed me to hold into that earnings move, which is pretty risky, right? But the earnings were green, and I kind of expected that to happen because there have been two wars already, the Ukraine war and the Israel war, and a bunch of other wars that we probably don't know about, that the US and Lockheed Martin have been helping, whatever side that they have been helping on. So LMT over here, I expected good numbers to come out, and the numbers were good. I'm expecting good guidance, and I think the guidance was good. And today's move made me pretty damn happy, but I should have taken my profits. I got too greedy. A little bit of a retracement back into these ranges, but looks like a lot of support in those ranges. If you look at the daily chart, pretty solid support in these ranges at the moment, and that war anchored VWAP is what the stock has constantly been holding. So let me just scroll back over here. That's the war anchored VWAP right there, and we've been just respecting that level every single day on the stock. So possible more longs being built in. Whoever's getting into the stock is clearly buying right off of these positions or right off of this anchored VWAP, and I'm very interested to see once that area breaks or that anchored VWAP breaks, I'll probably be triggering into closing my position for LMT, because that was my trade. I'm just joining whoever that big money is from that news catalyst. Okay, so LMT was a pretty solid move up today, but how does it look like? There we go. How does it look like for a trade for tomorrow? For a trade for tomorrow, I think the fact that the stock has sadly, did pop up all the way into one of our resistance areas, almost penny perfect into that area that we had already mapped out, but pulling right back into this area and closing in this range, that makes me think this 440 430 area is something to keep an eye out for, possible rejections of this area. But if the stock can hold above this 443 445 zone and start trading above 443 to 445, I think we got another move up to 450 on especially tomorrow, day 2 move on LMT. And if we go take a look at the earnings anchor VWAP, which is right around that blue one, which is today's anchor VWAP, any reason for the stock to, there you go, 443, right? Any reason for the stock to get above this 443 area and actually show us some buying above 443? I'll be very interested to see if we can get long off of that price. See how I said 443 without even looking at where the anchor VWAP for earnings was? It's just right around these highs. It's not rocket science. It's just how the stock works, or how the market works. There's buyers, there's sellers, and all the anchored VWAP is showing you is what's the average price of all the stock prices showing you from the price that you anchored it at, and we want to see what's going on ever since that earnings move. And the earnings move is showing us exactly right around this price is where the average price is. And if we get a little breakout of that area, we're thinking about a beautiful long over there, because that might be burning some shorts, and that might be making that anchored VWAP person, whoever it is, and if he's long off of that area, it might make him happy, and maybe he adds more on that position, and that big money buyer helps us really carry the stock higher for us, and we want to piggyback off their ride. So let's see if those buyers come back in and those sellers run away, or if those sellers keep control of that stock and keep stuffing it below that price point. J&J, another earnings move today, but really stuffed to the downside today off that earnings move, not looking good. And if you move to the daily chart, notice how it really didn't do too much volume on the daily chart compared to the previous day's volume. Previous day volume 5 mil, today's volume 6 mil, what, 2 times R vol, whatever. We did more volume right around over here, but I guess I can't compare it to these ones. I think this was right around the fact that Kenvue J&J thing was happening. So maybe you just have to ignore this volume period. This was a more specific catalyst base. So based on that, 2R vol, not bad. Yes, right, 2R vol, not bad. Anytime a stock is doing more than 2R vol, it's in play, 100%. But I guess I'm just getting salty because of how I traded the stock today and how I got burnt on it. So let's explain to you how I traded it and why I got burnt. Stock and pre-market itself flushes to the downside off the in pre-market, right here, flushes to the downside in pre-market off the earnings number, but later on manages to climb back up and show me support around, not support, but there's a big move up to the north side and reclaiming today's VWAP. Later on, we reclaim earnings VWAP, which is that blue line, and I started seeing it holding that area. So focusing on that area, I start getting long. And now we start trading higher than the yesterday's high, and also yesterday's close. Well, not yesterday's high, sorry, but higher than yesterday's close. And we start holding yesterday's close. As you guys can see, that 157.50 is yesterday's close, 157.53 to be exact. But the stock pushes higher and higher and starts holding 157.50. So that gives me an indication to add to my position. So now I'm adding. I see the stock going higher and higher and higher. Perfect. I love it. I'm ecstatic. I think I'm in a big position. But if we go to the 1 hour chart, and what the hell? If you go to the 1 hour chart, is this the 1 hour chart? Is this today? Maybe not the 1 hour chart, the daily chart. Yeah, if you go to the daily chart, there you go. We had this line already out there I guess this one comes from way back when. I mean, right there, that high, right? We had this line out there for such a long time. We don't even remember when we put this, I'll be honest with you. And the stock already has kind of respected that area before in the last few days. And today on that earnings move, I was hoping, I was dreaming that the stock really punches above there too, and there's a monster move on J&J for me to bag today. But seeing that area, I do take some profits in front of it, right? Seeing that area, I do take some profits in front of it. But what do I ignore? I ignore my rule, my thesis, or not my rule, but this new thesis that I've learned from S&B Capital, which is if the stock closes back under the last 2 5-minute candle lows, and if you're long, just get out of it, right? Just get out of it. So if I was focusing on that, I'm long somewhere over here, right? The re-entry of this 157.70, I should have just closed the trade and walked away. The momentum is done. The momentum I was looking for was sadly right up to here. It was done. The trade was no longer available for me, but I kept fighting the long and I got tilted, and then I made the greatest decision I could have done today, which is log out. Greatest decision. So couple things I need to keep on looking out for. I mean, if I'm in a momentum trade like that, I need to maybe even the 2-minute bars. I could have trailed it off the 2-minute bars off this move over here, and at that point I would have possibly been out of this trade. So yeah, same in the same area, 157.80, 157.70. I would have been kicked out right around this area, which is apparently a level that we have mapped out again. So once I see 2 of my levels not really hold up and reject, I should have just not looked for the long again and again on J&J. But for tomorrow, what's the trade tomorrow on J&J? I think it's pretty obvious. A lot of weakness. Look how much we fought to stay higher on the stock today, but it really failed and closed in the lower end of these ranges overall. So based on that, yeah, good report, but looks like negative guidance or whatever it was. The market did not really like J&J's numbers today. We might see a move right back into this 151, 150 area on J&J coming in the near future. No crystal ball here. What you need to do is look for those weak signals. Look for the stock to show you weakness around this 154.50 to 155. Look for that weakness to show up and get ready to punch to the downside on that bigger move if possible. But if buyers show up, good earnings report, right? If buyers show up, then maybe get ready to go a little bit long, but I'm going to stay away from that one. I'm possibly looking for a bigger move down over here on J&J. And if not, I'll just stay away. My bias is wrong, fine. I'll just stay away. We start off over here with, let me just quickly put down some of these stocks. UAL, IBKR, ASML, PG, MS, USB, LMT. Okay, yeah, perfect. So now we start off with the rest of the watch list. Ooh, I forgot a couple stocks over here. SWN, VFC. And then we'll think about the other stocks, the other 2 stocks, if we want to add them when we take a look at them. Pretty big watch list over here once again for us to run through. As always, I make it hard for myself. I don't know why. So why don't we start off with some of the most active stocks on the day, which is SWN. Popped up on the watch list. Energy, mineral stocks over here. Does about 22 million shares on average, but today 87 million shares. And the monster pop up to the north side too. A 10-day average, 28 million shares. 20-day average is 22 million shares. So you get the idea. Pretty decent volume for us to be involved in. A $7 stock overall and a monster breakout. So now that we got that breakout, any retracements back into 7, back into 688 should get respected as a possible level for buyers, new buyers to step in. I like how we rejected right around these areas highs, right around 740, 750. So breakout of these areas could give us a bigger move into somewhere into these ranges on the north side. Let me just kind of throw a box for myself. I'm interested to see how the stock behaves in that box, 828 to 839 area. So maybe if we break above 740, another dollars move or so to the north side on SWN. Not sure what the catalyst is, and honestly, I don't care about the catalyst. All I care about is, are the buyers there or are the sellers there around these prices. On the move down near $7, are there buyers on this position? On the move up to the north side, can we get above 740, hold above 740, and really fight for that price? I don't want to see the stock dip under 740 too much lower. If we start going back under 740 and really go back to 7, that kind of negates this price as a breakout price, right? You want to look for a follow through, buyers coming in, and if the stock does move back down to 740, the buyers bidding back up and holding that price, and we really start moving up. So instead of really taking that breakout, I'm gonna let it move up, show me if buyers are there, and then kind of get involved in that party with a nice little tight to risk to reward, and then we can get that move up to $1 or so, or just wait for the $7 dip, which I think will be a much cleaner trade on the long side once it exhausts all the stops on the down move over here below 7 and then pops back up. That's going to be a great long for us to be involved in. SWN, big R-vol spike, big move in the chart itself, 8% to the north side today. I'm not sure what the flow is on this position. For that, we do have our trusty friend flow checker. So let's quickly refresh the pages. What was the stock we were just looking at, chat? SWN, Southwestern Energy Corp Company. 1 billion, so tons of flow, and not really a short flow at all going on over there. So we'll see if the big move is there or not. I was thinking maybe it's a short flow company, we could possibly get a big squeeze coming in, but I'm wrong on that thesis. SWN for sure, don't ignore this one on the watch list tomorrow. VFC, if I remember correctly, this is the company that owns Supreme, North Face, and a bunch of other companies. So VFC over here, monster spike on the chart today, big volume candle, also 22 million shares traded, big spike on the candle itself. Not sure what the catalyst today catalyst is. I was pointed out to this position really late on the day, but eventually it got onto our radar, and now we will be taking a look at this trade for position for tomorrow. Possible day 2 continuation on VFC, right back in the higher end of these ranges of into $20 or so, and possible rejection of 20 or a possible rejection of the 21 area for us to maybe look for some shorts and ride it back to the south side, as the stock will see maybe some supply back in the higher end of the ranges, and go look for demand at the lower end of the ranges. So if I see any shorts possibilities, get short, but if there's no short possibilities, obviously get long. It's not rocket science, guys. All you have to do is look for these levels and just trade them. The hard part is the psychology and having to deal with money and having to deal with your own emotions. Once you can handle those parts and just trade the pattern, trade the concept, and ignore all the other garbage behind it. So far though, we are getting a pop right into the 100 period, 50 period EMAs. Those areas could show some rejection, as previously you can see how the stock has rejected 50 period EMA multiple times and the 100 period EMA. So I wouldn't be surprised a rejection at $19/$20 if it does pop up, but a day 2 continuation tomorrow would involve the stock to go to 20, maybe go to 21, not have follow through above either or those prices, and then get back below 20 or get back below 21 on a failed follow through of 21 break, and then that's where you really want to get short on that failed follow through and ride it back to the downside for a bigger risk to reward short, if that's how you're thinking about trading it. So VFC, don't forget to put this one on your watch list tomorrow. WH, 20-day moving average on volume, 900,000 shares, but today they brought in about 6 million shares, so not sure what the catalyst is, but the monster spike right back into previous ranges over here on WH. So obviously pretty interested to see if their stock can bring in volume tomorrow too, and have any sort of a catalyst. Looks like it's a little bit of a random stock out there, honestly, and the reason I say is because I've never really heard of it, never really traded it. Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, I've never been to a resort in my life. I'm a broke boy, so I can't really tell you what this resort is. Cruise lines also, okay, whatever it is. Overall, never really Traded WH, never heard of WH. I thought it was Whirlpool, to be honest, once I first saw this stock on my watch list pop up. But tomorrow, possible trades if there is volume. I'm thinking rejection somewhere in the 79.50 to 80 areas, and possible buyings right in the lower end of these ranges, maybe 72.50 holds, or even 75 to 74.50 area holds. But I wouldn't be too interested in looking for a long. Not sure what the catalyst is, but Monster or RVol spike and Monster moved to the north side also. But look at the candle, man. A lot of rejections up here, a little bit of buying over here. The stock body looks pretty indecisive to me, so I think the stock could go anywhere tomorrow, honestly, and it could just have a big inside D itself. This body candle is pretty drastic for the stock. The ATR for sure traded way higher than its ATR on the day. I would not be surprised by that. But if for any reason the stock gives us some trades, WH to possibly put on our watch list, you know what? We'll throw it in there. We were debating to throw this one in the watch list, but we'll throw it in there. The next one that we were debating is actually VMware. Did it drop 10%? Or did it at least trigger 10%? What was yesterday's close? 178.88. Yeah. It triggered SSR right off the open. So VMW, pretty big company, honestly. And if I have known that this stock has triggered SSR on a day like today, when the market was just reversing, I would have absolutely looked for those longs. How come no one pointed this out to me? So missed out on this one over here. Looking for any possible big volume node in pre-market itself for us to possibly throw in an anchored VWAP, but looks like nothing really for us to throw it off of. So I'm just gonna point it off of that one at the moment. Looks like we, whatever that move started in pre-market, that move started in pre-market basically. So I'm interested in all of that move. I guess we could just put it at 9:30 today, honestly. And gotten the same result, right? Now we're gonna leave it at that point. We're gonna call it whatever this news is, news AVWAP, and I want to see what happens around that price. And now we'll turn off regular trading hours, go back to regular trading hours or so. And VMW, big drop to the downside, but looks like it found a lot of buyers at the lower end of these ranges. I mean, low at day today 157.17, and we closed pretty much at the lows of these ranges. That's pretty solid, right? Found a lot of buyers. That SSR bounce, that Brankles bounce, as I call it these days. It's an inside joke, you guys will understand. But the Brankles bounce, as I call it, really showing up on BMW today. But tomorrow, I think for any reason the stock shows us rejections right back under this 163.50. I think there's a short there tomorrow, right? This drop was obviously off of a big catalyst, so I'm looking for more selling to come into play. I think there could be shorts also in this area right around 166, 168. If there is any pop into 167, 168. Hey, why did you go from there to here? Hey, I want to see what that was. If for any reason we do pop into this 167, 168 area, I think there's some shorts there, but a failure to hold these areas of 163.35, I think that's going to be a short right there for us on VMW tomorrow. Hoping that there is volume on this stock. Yeah, I got to put it on my watch list. I like it. These were the two ones we're debating if we want to put it on our watch list or not. And I guess the rest of our watch list is usually our basic stuff that we always take a look at. So the tech basket. So why don't we just take a look at QQQ and SPY for you guys, kind of give you a quick little overview of what we think about the QQQ and the SPY. Look at how the month to date anchored VWAP is pretty much the low today. The month to date anchored VWAP is 363.95 on the daily chart. And the low today, 363.66, right? Pretty much the low. Also the low on this day. Also the low on this day. The starting of the month doesn't really matter for the month to date anchored VWAP. Obviously, it matters later on in the month. This is more for swing traders, day traders. Really could kind of get use this anchored VWAP to get a better idea of not to short into these levels on some days. Some days, later on in the month, as you are seeing the market come really big to the downside, but you might be thinking, hey, the market's gonna sell off, it's gonna sell off. But then you have a big thick line really popping up in your face, and you go, hey, the market did gap down, but we're still above the month-to-date VWAP. Maybe I'll stay off on the shorts right now and just wait. And if you did that, it would have paid you today on QQQ, right? Look at that. Paid you big time, reclaiming today's VWAP and just going straight to the north side on the QQQ. So it would have paid you big time if you kind of were focusing on some of these bigger levels. I think the book that we read, the Anchored VWAP book, they talk about month to date, year to date, 52-week highs, 52-week lows, earnings days, and so on, and big news days. So those are the days that I usually have on my charts that I try to monitor, especially on big markets. I mean, month to date, week to date. Look at SPY. The month to date right now, October, since the start of October till now, right? We could see possible supports popping back up. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about what I think the market might do tomorrow, and I think it's going to be an inside day. Today, however, on the SPY was not an inside day. We started off big to the downside. We went up to the upside. We were positive at one point, and then we ended up basically flat on the SPY, closing exactly where we closed yesterday. That's insane. Maybe off by 2 pennies. That's pretty crazy to me, and that doesn't happen by magic, right? That doesn't happen by magic. QQQ, very close to having an inside day, but it did break out off the open or pre-market, I guess. Sold off quite a bit. The market ended up finding some buyers. I wonder where they found those buyers from, right? Right off the month-to-date anchored VWAP, where probably some big hedge funds or probably some big buyer is just waiting to accumulate shares of QQQ and so on, or waiting to take profits on a move down. Every time QQQ goes down, he's probably taking profits on their shorts, right? So good indicator to have out there for yourself. Keep your eye out for those big moves over there off that level. I think tomorrow, however, how QQQ and SPY trade will be another possible inside day move, because Netflix and Tesla are pretty big things, right? They're pretty big weightages in the markets. Both of these markets, I think NASDAQ more, QQQ more, and the QQQ I've seen happen quite a bit, which is on big earnings days, especially when earnings are just getting started, they wait. No one's really positioning themselves too much throughout the day, and they wait. They keep cash on hand for that big move later on at the 4 o'clock move or 4:30 move whenever Netflix or Tesla announce their numbers. So don't be caught off guard. Maybe not a really push money on big tech type of day tomorrow. Might be more of a pick and choose where you want to go to battle. Some of those battles might be on the bank earning stocks, day 2, day 3 plays. A lot of hedge funds, a lot of big institutions always trade off of the day 2 move, and what I mean by that is on the day 1 itself, the intern or the analyst has to make a report. They do their research, they do the report on the earnings numbers, on the guidance, on whatever the CEO said in the conference call. They make the report, they kind of justify their case as to why they think it's a long or why they think it's a short. Then they project or they present their case to their team. Then the day 2 is where their team gets to work, right? The other interns, the traders, or the buying programs that they use, then they get to work on the day 2 move, which is buy more or sell more, whatever. A lot of it does happen on day 1, don't get me wrong, but the day 2 you see a much cleaner move sometimes, and sometimes you see a big reversal on day 2 where the hedge funds really kick in in and believe on the number on day 2 that they didn't believe on day 1, or day 1 was a lot of retail fear mongering happening and the greed happening on day 1 retail, and day 2 where hedge funds really take control of that position and they reverse that move on day 2 where people go, oh my god, what happened, this is crazy, right? So you got to be careful for those type of things, and that's why I would always take a look at day 2, day 3 plays. So keep an eye out for all of those stocks such as GS, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, all of them at pretty solid levels. I mean, Bank of America 27, I fumbled that trade so hard today. I wish I didn't fuck that trade up. I'm sorry for my French over there for anyone who has kids around at the moment, but I wish I didn't screw that trade up over there on 27. Monster move to the north side for the amount of risk. Here's how I could have traded the stock better today. And I was talking to my manager about this too. My initial trade was the re-entry of 27 for a momentum long. Fine. But if you look at it, that was the first 5-minute candle. That whole trade was the first 5-minute candle. Not good enough, right? Not good enough. And I let that one candle tilt me. This one candle and the next one candle tilted me. Absolutely baby trading over there, right? I need to be more grown up. I need to be more mature. So how can we do that? Fine, we get tilted. A lot of traders do that. Madass does it every other day, right? I'm sorry, Madass. I should not be taking shots at you. I feel bad for you. Trust me, I do. I love you, Madass. I love you. But, Bank of America over here, I should not have gotten tilted off the first 2 damn candles on the day. 10 minutes? Is that all it takes for me to get tilted? Come on, be a little bit more mature. The right trade setup is later on you see buying coming right back into these areas, right? Buying come back right back into those areas. If we were to turn on the extended hour thing and put in an anchored VWAP, well, nothing really happened pre-market, so forget it. Go back to regular trading hours. So if we were to look for that same 27 area buying to really show up later, you see how the stock starts later on showing you that higher low, higher high. Where would you technically get into this long would be right over here, in my opinion, around this 2703, where the stock reclaims that big 27 area after this big volume candle comes in. After this big move on the candle comes in, you kind of punch back through 27 and your risk is right around this 2690. I wouldn't say all the way back through 2672. I think your risk is right down over here. And once the stock starts to work for you, you start using that technique that we learned today from S&B Capital, whereas you start trailing your stop to the low of every 2 5-minute candles. So if you entered on this candle, your stop would be technically at the low of that candle. The last 2 candles low is 26.97. Then as the stock goes higher and higher, you keep trailing your position. Notice how you never really get stopped out. Maybe you actually get stopped out over here. So when the stock is over here, you're trailing it over here. When the stock is over here, you're still trailing it over here. When the stock is over here, you're actually trailing it over there. So maybe you would have kind of gotten stopped out over here, but if you're smart enough, maybe you put your stop under 19, not even at the 20, right? It says 23, but I think you put your stop at 19 at this point, and you don't get stopped out. And then you just keep trailing your stop higher and higher and higher. I think right here is where you get stopped out on that trade. So you capture a 50-cent move for about a 10-cent risk, right? 50-cent move for a 10-cent risk. And it gives you an opportunity to re-enter on the breakout, or possibly re-enter down here with the stop right down over here, because you're seeing that moving averages are showing you, hey, we're not done buying yet. There's a buy program kicking in right now, or there's a big institution or a big buyer with a lot of money buying up this position, and they are just running the stock up. This is where the momentum dies out once the stock starts trading sideways and the moving averages start diverging it's not diverging, crossover. When the moving averages start crossing over each other, that's when it signals you a kind of a change in trend. That's where you kind of think about maybe going for a scalp short with the risk high. And then once again, you start trailing your stop to the downside every low of the last 2 candles. If you're short, every low of the a low of the last two candles if you're long, and the high of the last two candles if you're short, and that will give you a little bit of a move for your risk to reward, maybe a 1:1 trade overall, because the stock doesn't really push down a VWAP. Obviously, why think short when the overall catalyst is long, and the catalyst is strong, and the sector is strong, right? XLF on the day, I believe, ended up pretty monster to the green side. Not really monster to the green side, but ended up green overall. So shout out to the banking sector. Obviously, don't ignore the banking sector. There could be more trades on it. SCHW still holding up in yesterday's ranges at the moment. JP Morgan, we talked about that possible short off that 150. Look at that blue line. That blue line is the earnings anchored VWAP. On earnings day itself, the stock has shown you weakness. The next day, never really pulling up to the earnings day anchored VWAP. On today, pulling up to the anchored VWAP of earnings, rejecting that move and pushing right back into yesterday's lows. So that level at the moment, the seller slash buyer, whoever is in control, the buy program, whatever is in control, since the earnings move, is not letting the stock or not letting the stock push up, because they are offloading anytime the stock pushes up into that price point. That's not magic, right? That's a program pushing it down. So thinking about that, if we do get pushed right back in this 149.50s, possible shorts over there on JP Morgan. But if we see buying above these areas, JP Morgan, another big monster move. So here's the one bank stock that's actually been getting hurt recently. JP Morgan. Couple standouts out there, I guess, would be couple standout out there would be Snapchat. Snapchat held yesterday's anchored VWAP perfectly. Still a lot of buying apparently, and yesterday's move was a significant move. For some reason, stock gapped up drastically and moved up. So I'm interested to see what happens over here. We talked about this yesterday after hours, but we did not execute on it at all today. We were too busy with Bank of America, too busy with J&J, that I did not bother even looking at Snapchat until later on in the day, at which point I pulled it up and I'm like, no, you held that to the penny, like perfectly. So that just means, once again, someone's buying this position right around these prices, and I'm interested to see if these prices get respected tomorrow again. We almost took out yesterday's high, and in fact we did take out yesterday's high, but we pulled right back and again found buying again, right? So right now though, this VWAP is flattening out. The book also talks about the more time a price tests a VWAP, it's more likely to break. Same thing applies for a specific level on the stock. If anytime a stock goes up to, let's say, 250 on Tesla, anytime a stock goes to 250, the more time it tests that 250 area, the more likely it's to break that level. If it's testing the third or fourth time, you maybe don't want to be thinking long. But if it's testing the first or second time, you could possibly get a quick little scalp long off of that, right? So you want to be careful. The book also talks about when the VWAP flatlines, that could mean indecision time. That's where you kind of stay away, right? When the VWAPs look like these, right? When it's going higher, or when it looks like these moving averages where it's a straight line to the upside, that's indicative of a trend. But when VWAP's flattening out, no life in the stock at the moment, and the moving averages, the EMAs, the 50 and the 100, flattening out along with it, or maybe actually curling down, you want to be a little careful, because that's pretty indicative of a change in trend. At the moment, there is buying coming off this yesterday's VWAP, but I would not be surprised if this level breaks tomorrow, because we are seeing enough selling coming in right around yesterday's high on Snapchat. So a couple levels over here to keep an eye out for. Pretty tight range, so we could see that high of yesterday breaking if this 950 area keeps holding on Snapchat. So look for that 950 area right over here. 950 holds tomorrow. That's a stock to possibly keep an eye out for tomorrow. We also had pretty decent volume on it, almost enough to not ignore it, but I did for some reason. I was too bogged down with stupid Bank of America. we also have a bunch of other stocks. You guys see this big watch list that says today that we also added a bunch of stocks in there. Most of them are most likely dead stocks, I'll be honest with you. A lot of them are around some key levels or around some key prices, but not really doing too much volume at the moment. So they're just in the back burner. I think we talked about the most important stocks that you will be having tomorrow on the dinner plate. So make sure you, trade the in-play stocks. I'm often guilty not trading the in-play stocks. I thought Bank of America was in play today. Guilty as charged. Right? Gavel has been slammed. Guilty as charged. I thought I was trading in-play stocks. And maybe I did trade in-play stocks, just not the right ones. Right? Just not the right ones. As the ones that I was trading had maybe not the right way to put this would possibly be that they were in play because there was big relative volume in it, right? Bank of America, big relative volume spike, right? More than average. J&J, more than average. Slightly more than average. JD, a little bit more than average, right? So it had relative volume. But the patterns that these stocks have at the moment are not really warranting a trade out of them, right? Bank of America's pattern later on, not off the open. The pattern later on warranted trade for sure. But not at the moment that I took a trade, in my opinion. Later on, gave you the right trade to be in. But my trade, it gave me a quick scalp, and I should have treated it that way. I should have treated it as a quick scalp. Most of these other stocks, though, pretty boring, pretty lame. I think on one stock to mention today will be Lulu. Lulu pretty much rejected yesterday's high. That 420 area seems pretty key. The stock is now officially in the S&P 500 index. It has replaced Activision, so it is officially in the S&P 500 index. That could have put a temporary top in the stock, in my opinion. So I will not be surprised to see any sort of rejections popping in around these price points on Lulu. So that's right around 419 to 420, a dollar area. If the stock pops anywhere close to 419 tomorrow and I'm able to see some rejection, I think I will, monkey into a short, risk off that high off that 420 area, hard stop 420. If this stock prints a single penny above 420, I don't want to hold it. Give it about $1 risk for a possible $5, $6, $7 reward to the downside tomorrow on Lulu. I'm only doing that on pops into 420. I'm not going to, and I'm saying this out loud because, I will possibly do it, which is fight the stock to the downside and try to take some sort of a breakout of the downside. Obviously, this catalyst, the news catalyst, the S&P 500 catalyst was strong enough for the last few days where it kept the stock higher. But now we're actually trading below the news catalyst anchored VWAP, so there could be some negative move tomorrow. But I don't want to be really punching these moves down over here. I'd much rather short that 420 area. So please allow me to short that 420, Lulu. Please, please, please. Quickly looking at my scanner over here. We talked about the big tech, so obviously be very careful with big tech. But here's Rivian, stuck at that $20 price, kind of like that BAC 27, right? Maybe not really a big trade to make out of Rivian tomorrow 20, but if we do get a big spike in RVOL, we start holding above 20, buyers show up above 20, then we could trade it. I did trade this on simulation today after I was tilted, and I lost money on that long on 20. I wonder why, because there was no goddamn volume on the stock today, and this was just the indecision area. It was stuck in a 10-cent range all day, trading like a buyout stock. You could have, traded it like a buyout if you wanted to, but nothing really happened overall. Stuck in an absolute range all day, and no volume coming in either. So maybe tomorrow, if there is any good catalyst or negative catalyst, that $20 area will be used to play off of. But just a quick reminder for you guys, keep an eye out for this $20 area. I want to quickly go check if NIA is back in play. Nope, I think it's just stuck right now in that $54 and losing its steam too, losing its average volume per day too. So sadly, looks like NIA is going out of service more and more as we get closer and closer. But yeah, that JD level looks pretty good to me. For tomorrow, looks like we're holding right around that area. But you want to look for possible shorts off of that area or longs into the lows once that lows show you supports, not be trading in the middle of the ranges like I was today. And I'm showing you the chart right around the middle of the ranges over here. I mean, look, you want to be waiting to see what happens at 26.86 or what happens at 28. In the middle, nothing really there. I guess I was kind of using this anchored VWAP type of play a little bit too much because I read that book, but that book is trapping me a little bit right now because all I'm doing is trading off of these anchored VWAPs and not really looking for a sound logical trade setup and whatnot. But hey, in my opinion, JD was a sound logical trade, and I just had shit price. I priced in at the low of day, which ends up stopping me out. If I had the right price, which is failing to hold today's VWAP after failing to reclaim yesterday's VWAP, that was probably the entry with the stop right there. So the entry 27 with the stop at 27.12 and your reward to the downside multiple pennies. So that's probably the setup that you want to be. I should not have chased the entry. Should not have chased the entry so far away from today's VWAP. I should have waited for the stock to possibly pull into today's VWAP, show me rejection, possibly enter right down over here, and then look for that bigger move to the downside slowly later on in the day. So that's a quick little tidbit notes for myself on how to possibly trade the stock better. Maybe even look at it on the 5-minute chart. This would kind of make better sense. So yeah, possible short entry, first entry over here with the stop over there. Never really gets tested, right? And then you never really get worried about getting stopped out. Possibly get stopped out over here on that trade. And then you could get back in right around over here, take some profits, get back in, take some profits, more profits. And then as it comes back and going into close the day, you're basically done for the day, possibly somewhere around over here. But not too much volume coming in on JD, so I probably need to just stay away from these Chinese sectors a little bit. Over trading the sector when the boat has already sailed. The boat has already sailed and I just keep trying to force this damn trade. Need to stop forcing trades. All right, quick look at the chat because I've been ignoring the chat for quite a bit. But while I do take a look at the chat skis, let me remind you guys to please go take a look at. Oh, I almost said fade to black. Please go take a look at all my social media links down below. I stay pretty active on our Discord, on Twitter, where I post my tweets, when I go live, when I go take a poop, I guess. No, I'm joking. I don't do that. But go check out all my social medias down below. It will mean a lot to me if you hit subscribe subscribe on YouTube, follow on Twitter, and all that other fun stuff. And also do check out all my affiliate sponsor links down below. Use code PRAD15 to get 15% off on TraderSync and Trade Ideas, and also Benzinga. Benzinga helps me every single day find the best news out there for stocks as they're coming out at that right moment. So shout out to Benzinga for helping me on that side. Now as we go over to the chat, let's see what chat's talking about today. Here's a play just for you, Pradley. Pan W to the short side tomorrow and get that free money. Let's take a look. Oh, my parents are back from their swimming. Pan W to the short side. I mean, yeah, I don't dislike it. Let's see what happens on after hours. Did anything happen on Pan W after hours today? Looks like nothing really happened Pan W after hours today. No volume traded in the after hours at all. So if we just turn off the after hour move and go to the daily chart, I mean, that level looks pretty good. If we get below 258, 259, I think that's 259 basically. If we get below 259, a short below 259 looks great. And a short right above at the 52-week high, at the all-time high, also looks like something that we could possibly get into. I mean, once again, go to the daily chart, maybe even go to the 60-minute chart. You can just see it is giving you higher highs and higher lows. Higher highs, higher lows, but it's struggling to get above that 265, 266. I'll just throw it in my watch list. Why not? I'll also throw it over here. Pan W. Throw it in my watch list. Throw it in the list. Other names. Pan W. PAN W. In that other list too, we have TPST, SPRC. SPRC moved to the downside today. We talked about that yesterday a little bit. TPST moving every single goddamn day. DG keeps moving higher too. So don't forget about DG. Pan W is coming into the radar at the moment. Thank you to one of our viewers over here. I do like it. I mean, I'm not gonna hate it. If we do peak back under the previous 52-week low / the previous all-time low, nice little short area to the downside. And if we do pop back in over here, looks like a little bit of obvious rejection popping in near the current all-time high on Pan W. We'll keep an eye out for that. Rocking back towards our chat at the moment. Vitamin D equals sunlight. That's right. You're the man, Prad. Keep it up. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the support. Randy Chima coming in. What's the law for, Randy? What are we laughing about? Hopefully it was about the fact that the S&B Capital is the only YouTube channel that is worth watching, and I do mean it. The only YouTube channel worth watching. I just did get here, and those reports after the close today, did they do anything? You talking about, yeah, what stocks reported after hours? I kind of forgot already. UAL Interactive Brokers, both of them. I think we talked about it, right? Yeah, UAL moved pretty much to the downside, to the upside. No, it moved to the downside in the after hours. Yes, it moved to the downside in the after hours. And sold off even on good earnings report because their guidance was bad. And I think we talked about what's the other one that had earnings report too? IBKR, but we're not too keen on IBKR for tomorrow. Dish. Hopefully it can rally for you, my friend. And what happens to PAGs in the last 2 days? Not sure. I don't really look at Dish or PAGs every single day, I'll be honest with you. Oh, that one hit the throat. Nice little rise on average day volume today. Big spike on the volume overall, but the stock is clearly struggling at the all-time lows. Finding support at the moment near all-time lows. So that's good. I think that's all-time lows. Let me go make sure. Yep, all-time lows. Finding support all-time lows / 52-week lows. So that's good. But yeah, I'm not, you know me, I'm not too interested on Dash or PAGs. I'll leave those two trades to you, my friend. Good luck. Wish you the best on those positions if you're still trading them. Netflix will drop on earnings or call. I expect a $13 move down, but we'll wait until Thursday morning for puts. Says Tobias. I like it. Tobias coming in with this crystal ball. $13 move and we'll drop on earnings. I like it. Be careful, Pratt. LMT is going down tomorrow, my guy, says Tobias. Ooh, I don't like it. We'll see how that one moves. End up Tobias coming in with a big crystal ball for us tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. So he says LMT down, and he says Netflix also down. Late, but here, CDP. Hey, as long as you show up, I love it. Love the support. Pratt, I want to see Tesla go to $50. It's so overvalued from Elon overhyping lies. Sounds like you have a personal vendetta. Personally, when that happens, doesn't end up being good for a trader, I would suggest you to not trade Tesla in that case. VFC will retrace a lot tomorrow. Retrace to the downside. Hopefully not. But I think I agree with that. I think there's some shorts to look for right around this $20 for VFC. I'm not interested in shorting anywhere before 20. Maybe on the break below 18, if it can get below 18 and show me weakness below 18, then I'm interested on VFC shorts at that point. Has Prad covered any Bitcoin miners today? If so, I can rewind. No, I have not. Thank you for actually putting that on the watch list. I guess, I don't really trade Bitcoin, but coin kind of moving around a little bit. I do know BTC USD popped up recently into that 28-30K again. So Bitcoin kind of coming into play, and anytime these come into play, Mara, Riot, they all move around. I think that $9 area is pretty important on Mara. I think Riot is a $10 area. Yeah, the $10 area on Riot, 10 to 10.50 is pretty important. I don't really trade crypto miners or Coinbase that much, but anytime Bitcoin does move around, they do give you good areas and good levels to trade off of, but they're just not on my watch list at the moment because I find it too much of a nuance to like have to watch Bitcoin, have to worry about these stocks single news itself. I think Coinbase for a little while was so news based itself, and it was moving around more news based than Bitcoin based moves. So I just it kind of got annoying to me, so I just moved away from it. But always worth it to have that on your watch list for sure. I think if for any reason Mara keeps popping up into this 9 or 10 ranges that we just talked about, it was Riot 10 to 1050, Mara around 9. If Bitcoin keeps going up but Mara and Riot are failing to break out of these levels, that's an issue over there for these stocks. But if Bitcoin rejects and these levels are rejecting, then easy short. If Bitcoin keeps going higher and these areas are popping up and they're holding buyers around these areas, easy long. So look for those catalysts, look for those reasons to get in. Obviously, you need Bitcoin to really help out these miners overall. And I do like the fact that you have it on your watch list over there, Hatter. I like it. And you know what? You've convinced me enough to put it on my watch list. Coin, Mara, Riot. You've done it. Congratulations. You just made my damn watch list bigger by 3 more positions tonight. Thank you. That means no walk from my dog. Coco doesn't get a walk today. Good job. That's your fault. TF Adder, no, he hasn't yet. Oh yeah, I'm in CLSK for a standout Momo miner player. CLSK, didn't even know there was a miner. 14 million average volume brought in recently. That's not bad at all. I mean, average volume 9 million shares. That's also not bad. Recently climbing up on volume scale over here. CLSK, Clean Spark. Never heard of it. Never traded it. Okay, $40, $70. What am I looking at on this position? Obviously, once again, the same rule applies. You want to look for those levels. You want to look for those resistance points and those buying areas for this possible stock to find buyers and so on. Looks like a little bit of a range over here from 330 to 360. Currently finding rejection right at the 50 period / the 100 period EMA, which is anywhere from 430 to 440 / 450. The stock could pop into possibly 5, but I think if we pop into anywhere into 516 or so, we see rejections, especially if Bitcoin doesn't keep going higher and higher, right? This is just pure technicals. I'm not sure what the fundamentals are. I don't know how much Bitcoin they own. I don't know how much cash on the hand they have, how much debt do they have, what their plan is for the future. Obviously, this whole Bitcoin ETF meme that recently came out kind of caused this rumor that came out, caused a spike in Bitcoin. So anytime this rumor kind of happens, you want to be careful because moves can immediately get retraced. And I think that's part of the reason why Mara and Riot haven't really broken out of those levels yet. And the GBTC, I think, is going to be the real big benefactor of that ETF, right? The GBTC, which is on OTC markets. This is the Bitcoin Grayscale ETF at the moment. All right. So, yeah, thank you for adding those ones. Obviously, did not really think too much about them. VFC must dip if I buy in the way this market is trading. I agree with that. Russell 2000 got the rotation today for sure. Looking at the Russell, I do like that. Yeah, good. Always good to take a look at the bigger markets. Russell, a much bigger market than the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ. So gives you a better idea of where the market's headed towards. So a good idea to take a look at the Russell. I specifically, I don't look at the Russell. I'll be honest with you. Maybe when I'm looking at small caps, I kind of maybe might take a look at the Russells, but not really. I only care about what the SPYs are doing and the QQQs are doing because I trade the larger cap stocks, the bigger cap stocks. And for me, I just care about where the big market is. But Russell, don't get me wrong, always good to take a look at that one. Nvidia dropped the NASDAQ this morning. Obviously. Obviously. Yeah, I mean, Nvidia got slapped big time today. I think that the Biden catalyst that they're going to be looking to pause more advanced chips to go over and so on. So that catalyst hurting them, more money being stopped for these chip makers to be made basically. So that's hurting their catalyst overall. I think for some reason my camera's too high. I just keep looking at my camera and it's tripping me out about how high the camera is. Don't like it. And also, this camera needs to be a little bit this way. Yeah, that way. There we go. That's center framed. My OCD is kicking in, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Center framed. Okay. Where were we at? Nvidia, yeah, Nvidia, and that catalyst actually hurting the overall chip sector itself. AMD dropping, Intel dropping, all chip stocks dropping in general. SOXX. Yeah, SOXX. I know some of you use SOXL, SOXS, which is 3 times leverage ETF long, 3 times leverage ETF short. This is the overall semiconductor ETF dropping by 1% today. And all semiconductors always on my watch list. The big tech, I just put them in the big tech basket: Nvidia, Intel, AMD. But you want to be a little careful with looking at the large cap tomorrow. I think large cap might be a little muted. Nvidia, however, could give you some trades, and the chip sector could give us some trades. Glad to see you're still trading, says King of Ring. Of course, baby. Nobody can stop me. You think they could stop me? Not even God could stop me, baby. Only thing that's stopping me is debt. Well, maybe my mom. Maybe my mom stops me. Trading is like playing chess with the PC set on Grandmaster to me sometimes. That's exactly what it is. I mean, you're fighting the best of the best. Think about it this way. You know, in NBA or in basketball, there's different leagues. There's the high school league. There's your gym league. There's your rec league. There's pickup ball. There's the ball games that you play outside for fun with the randoms, right? At an open ball court, street ball, I guess, if you want to call it. And then there's the real leagues, where professional leagues. Then you have the D League, the C League. I'm guessing there's a C League. I don't know. But the professional leagues, and then you have the NBA, right? In the market, there is no leagues. It's everyone's in one league. Everyone's in the NBA. Everyone's in the top of the top league, the best of the best league. And thankfully, there's absolute horrible toddlers in this league at the same time as there are Michael Jordans and LeBron James and Stephen Curry's of this league over here that we have to fight against. So that's what makes this league so much harder, this game so much harder, and so competitive, right? So if you feel like that, that's because it is exactly that. It is exactly fighting a chess grandmaster every single day you boot up. That's what it is. Prad, a question: when I take a trade and it goes beyond 1 hour before reaching my target, I kill the trade. Is that something wise to do? I think, you know, having a time-based stop is not bad, honestly, but you want to be more calculated based on you know, why is the stock moving the way it is, and why did it not go to your target? For example, there could be many times where you know that possibly stopped you from losing a ton of money, that rule that you have. But there's probably a lot more times where it actually stopped you from making money. I think if you track that number and you calculate how many times has it stopped you from losing a lot of money, that specific rule, compared to how many times has it helped you, not helped you make more money because you got stopped out earlier than actually getting the bigger move, I'm pretty sure the numbers are on the other side, right? It might have stopped you out 3 out of 7 times in a good way, but I think 7 out of 3 times. But it also depends on where you're entering, what type of stock you're trading, what the is a stock in play on that day. So all these, there's other variables that matter to that question, honestly. But in my opinion, a time stop is not bad. I do use time stops, but more in breakout situations. And when I'm using time stops in breakout situations for a day trader, they're not an hour time stops, right? For example, if I'm taking 250 breakout long on Tesla and Tesla's trading below 250, if I'm taking the 250 breakout long, if Tesla's trading more than 10 seconds under 250, I might close my position there because that's not enough follow through for me to see buyers stepping up. We're not holding 250. The bid is not being held up. That's a time stop that I might want to use. But an hour is telling me that you're more of in a swing trade or in more of a longer term day trade. And in that case, that really doesn't make sense to me unless there's a level of some sort that you're playing off of. So you want to be more technical, more calculated, more pinpoint exactly as to why the stock is doing what it's doing. Maybe incorporate some moving averages to help you see what the overall trend is in that stock at the moment. Is the trend dying down? Is the volatility dying down? Is the trend picking up to the high side? And are you on the right side of the trend? And is the volatility picking up along with it? Is the volume picking up along with it? So you want to look at all these other factors before you enter a trade or before you even exit a trade for profit. That actually helped me make a monster bagger winner today on QQQ on the short side. I'm just going to open up the trade before I pull up the screen for you guys. So let me open up the trade. That helped me bag a monster short today, right? So here's the QQQ entry short. That's the win over there. All we had to do was be patient, right? Look for the right variables to enter. QQQ right around yesterday's high, 370.50 or whatever that price point is. Let's go to the 5-minute chart. 370.50, yesterday's high. Yesterday's close, 369.41. QQQ bounced off of the month to date anchored VWAP, reclaims today's VWAP, reclaims yesterday's VWAP, and starts trading higher to the point where it looks like it wants to reclaim yesterday's close and maybe start trading above yesterday's high. Does that happen? No. There's some weakness coming in right around yesterday's close. It did look like it wanted to hold yesterday's close right over here. You see how those two candles on 5 minutes, near 10 minutes, it trades above yesterday's close by almost 10 cents. You could have gone bullish over there. But I start seeing the moving averages start curling, right? The moving averages start curling. And then on the curl of the moving averages and the stock failing to show me a higher high on the way down, I now say, okay, show me two red candles. Show me two red candles on the move down over here and start really trading under yesterday's close. I don't want to see you trade above yesterday's close or even closing above yesterday's close. If this stock can close above yesterday's close on the 5-minute candle, then if I'm in the trade, I was going to close it, but my stop was technically over here. I'll be honest with you, right? So based on that move over here, get in short on the fail on two red candles. On the pop up after the two red candles, I was able to take my size. I have my stop, and now I'm just trailing down the stop based on the high of every two candles. That's something that we just learned from S&B Capital today, right? Trailing the stop down on the high of every two 5-minute candles, and I was able to catch that big short that you saw over here all the way to the downside. Multiple spots for me to add on that short too. That's kind of how you want to, structure your trades and really position yourself on the day for your trades. That's what I should have done with BAC. I'll kind of repeat myself for myself and for you guys too. Instead of just blindly taking that 27 long and then fighting it on the way down and then getting tilted that 27 didn't hold later, I should have been patient. Let the stock really build some trades. It was showing me constant selling off of VWAP. This is something I ignored. I'm seeing this right now while I'm talking to you, right? This is good things that I'm learning while I'm talking to you, because I'll look for this more often as I'm growing to become the trader that I want to be. So this is showing you rejection throughout the day at today's VWAP, but it is holding yesterday's VWAP, and then it's also holding the earnings VWAP. So a little bit of battle right around here. I think the book calls it an anchored VWAP pinch. So this pinch is happening over here at the moment, and then it starts managing to punch back up. This is where you kind of look for the long with the stop right around these lows, and then once you start trailing your stops, you don't really get stopped out on the move up, and you capture a good meat of the move on Bank of America. So understanding the structure of how to get into trades, looking for the right patterns to build into a position or build into a long or short or whatever it is, and understanding to stay away from some trades on some days. I should have stayed away from JD on this day. I over traded JD on this day. I should have stayed away from XOM this day. I over traded XOM on this day. So I mean, today you could have traded XOM, right? It finally broke out of the 110, held 110, and started going higher. But the wrong day, wrong trade, over traded it, cost me money for no reason. But thankfully, we had good winners on those days where we actually ended up positive or flat on the day. So gotta understand more pattern recognition for myself. I would suggest you to do the same thing. Understand patterns, look for more reasons, not just specific time because of 1 hour. That seems very arbitrary for me. Very, very arbitrary. Why 1 hour? Right? Why 1 hour? Uh, did you look at PAGs with over 12 million shares traded? I mean, I looked at it, man, but I'm not gonna trade it. I apologize. It's not worth my time to even take a look at PAGs at the moment. But it is holding the all-time low. We talked about that just now once we pulled it up for you. And Dish, I'm not, or Dash Dish, whatever it is. I'm not really too interested as a day trade on that position. What is this book you speak of? It's called the Anchored VWAP book by Brian Shannon, Alpha Trends on Twitter. You can go find that book on Twitter at any moment. Not on Twitter. You can go find the book on Amazon if you want. And Brian Shannon on Twitter posts about Anchor VWAP all the time. I've been learning from all of his tweets every single day. Love that dude. Short Tesla. They are going down on earnings day again. Free fall Tesla. Momo. I like it. Momo with the crystal ball. 86 level Disney. Netflix. Yeah, Netflix sympathy could be possible, obviously, on Disney, but Netflix is the king at the moment, and Disney is not really that big on Disney Plus. They've been losing a lot of money on Disney Plus, and we've been seeing that catalyst play out. So if Netflix does come out with a good number, Disney might not be that much of a good sympathy. But if Netflix comes out with a bad number, Disney might be a really good sympathy. So that's something that I will put out there. Crystal ball is on point. I told you I can see the future with 85% accuracy on any ticker. I love it, Tobias. The confidence, baby. Why do you talk so fast and slow down? I don't know how to answer that question. The VIX. Yeah, the VIX is a good thing to take a look at always. 100%. The VIX at the moment, I believe, is coming down. No, we're up 4% on the VIX. Ooh, wee mama. The VIX is still in the higher end of the ranges. I like it. But if we can peak above 20, that's where fear kind of triggers. So we'll see if that 20 comes back into play at the moment. The market not really there just yet. Everybody knows nothing in the market. Hey, Tobias knows for 85%. Shinobi. So you should be careful. Maybe you don't know anything. And Anthony, our time is very valuable. None to waste. Yes, that's true. When you talk so fast that I'm not sure which chart you are on, and this market too risky now with people talking about recession every day. I mean, we're just day traders, man. We're day traders. I'm day trading at least. I don't know about you. You might not be a day trader. If I am talking too fast, not able to help you understand anything, I do apologize. Feel free to ask me any questions you have. I'll obviously stay a little bit longer if you want. It is getting pretty damn late. It's 10 o'clock at night. I would love to get off for the night over here and get some break. Sadly, I don't get to walk my dog today. So, probably take some rest, take some break here. But if you have any questions, feel free to put it in. I will obviously take a look at it. If it's not questions about PAGs or Dish or Dash, whatever it is, I will talk about it because I really don't care about those two stocks. I just don't care about them as a day trade. In this market, it is better to do better research when you're buying. I think English is not your first language because I'm struggling having to read your messages. In this market, it is better to do research when you're buying to go long for the days to weeks, and many people like myself isn't day trading. There you go. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you don't sound like a day trader. You sound like a swing trader or a long-term trader. And if that's the case, why PAGs? If you're a long-term trader, if you are a long-term trader, and if you are a swing trader, I get it that you like these levels and the risk to reward looks great, but why that stock? If you can answer that for yourself, great. I can't answer that for you because my answer is not going to be good. I don't care about those positions. Dish doesn't matter at all to me. Dish is the 4th largest retailer out there or telecom services. They'll get chewed out one day by AT&T or whoever it is. I'm not interested in investing in them, in swing trading in them. There's better trades out there. Lockheed Martin was a great swing trade from that Monday catalyst, right? Or the war catalyst on last Monday. So things like that are something that I'm interested in. Good stocks, good companies, swing trading good companies, good stocks makes sense to me. Trading good companies with good stocks with good volume trades makes sense to me. But being fixated on PAGs for whatever reason it is doesn't make sense to me. Apologize if what I'm saying doesn't really jive with you or vibe with you, but that's just how I look at the market. I think Warren Buffett says buy good companies, right? If you really like the market, buy good companies. Buy companies that you actually use on a day-to-day basis. If PAGs is something that you use on a day-to-day basis, then fine. Go for it. Makes sense to me. I've never used it, never heard it. Dish can kick rocks. I was going to say something way worse, but Dish can kick rocks. Okay. Excellent Pratt says CDP. Appreciate it. I'm glad I could help you in any way I can. Any little bit of information, tad bits that I can help you guys out there to improve your trading that I'm learning by making mistakes over here. I will gladly do that for you guys. 1 hour time frame makes no sense to me. You can hold it for 1 hour if you see it working, but you should only need 10 seconds to 10-15 minutes to see when it stops working. Yeah, that's basically what I said. Time stop at 1 hour doesn't really make too much sense. Like buying MEI under $22, which has been in it for 3 weeks, to even get a dividend of 14 cents. Like, what is MEI? What is MEI? Method Electronics. I think I remember this stock. I remember this position. I think I've traded this stock actually. I remember trading this position. MEI. Yeah, if you're playing it for the dividend, fine, go for it. But here's where I come out and say there's better dividend stocks like Pfizer, where the company actually makes money. I don't know if MEI makes money, and the chart doesn't look good. Pfizer chart doesn't look good either. Trust me, I talk to Momo about this all the time. But MEI, I don't know what the heck this company is. You bring out the most random companies that do no volume, my friend. Most random companies that do no volume. I think you need to possibly do better on stock selection on your side if you're losing on these stocks. But if you're winning on these stocks, then shout out to you. Their PE is 16 and their forward PE is 9. So pretty good on PE over there. Looks like they are making money. They do make cash because they do have PE. So that's good. Their dividend is 14 cents per share. That's something that you can be involved in if you want to. Once again, I'm not too interested in any of these positions you bring out. I'm just not. I'm just gonna move on from it. I'm sorry. MEI, PAGs, Dish, not interested. Especially not for a day trade. And this is a day trading show. This is a day trading show. I only talk about day trades. We don't talk about swing trades over here. I don't suggest swing trades. I don't suggest long-term positions. I'm not a financial advisor. So that's what I would say to you. If you like these stocks, I see you posting some other positions over there. I'm just gonna ignore them. I'm sorry. BZH, never heard of it. MOD, never heard of it. But if you like them, good luck. Please make sure that you apply risk management. That's all I can tell you. None of these are day trades at all. Don't be scared. Have a plan. That's right. Have a plan. Trade the plan. What do I think about Apple? I think the QQQ basket in general, I think does nothing tomorrow. I think they wait for Tesla and Netflix numbers to come out. There could be some possible trades off of, Apple's moves numbers. I think Apple also had some sort of a China catalyst recently. Let me just quickly take a look at Apple right here on the daily chart. Yeah, see, not really too much of a trade over there opportunity. I think buying off of 175, maybe a short off of 180 if it does show up, but I'm not too interested in trading big tech tomorrow. I think the bigger trades tomorrow will possibly day 2, day 3 trades on earnings or any of these other stocks that are actually coming out with earnings already, like UAL, ASML tomorrow pre-market, PG, MS, USB tomorrow pre-market. So most of those stocks are what I'll be interested in. Maybe LMT, J&J is something to take a look at too. But the bank stocks are something to take a look at. We also got VFC day 2 play, SWN day 2 play for any reason they move around. I'm looking at PAGs because the volume has picked up in the last few days. That's not good enough for a reason, bro. That's not good enough of a reason. What I mean, I'm done talking about it. I'm done talking about it. I don't wanna seem like I'm battering you down over here. Hey, like I said, if you like the trade, you like the trade. PFE lowered their outlook on Friday, and the only reason pop up on Monday was an upgrade and the move lower. We might see PFE bottom due to a reaction to the earnings preview report. If you are playing PFE, you need to play it against the $30. If it breaks that, ouch. Yeah, we got a PFE lover, so you want to be careful shit talking about PFE, okay? If you should talk about PFE, she's not gonna love it. She's gonna kill you. So you want to be careful shit talking about PFE. I, however, don't care about PFE. PFE's on a big trend to the downside. And COVID stocks, so I just really don't care about COVID stocks. Any COVID play, it's over. The trade's over. The game's over. mRNA, new 52-week lows. The game's over. The trade's over. Boring. Move on. On to the next one. Whenever the sector is hot again, we'll start looking at it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's about 2 hours of me talking about stocks, random levels, talking about my trades. How could we do better? Possibly helped you on how to exit better tomorrow, and possibly helped you on how to enter better tomorrow, because today was more a theory lesson class stream than actually looking for the big banger trades, because I felt like there was nothing really standing out there compared to what we were talking about yesterday and so on. So most of these levels that we have from yesterday, I think will come back into play on the tech basket. We do have some stocks that we talked about. If you missed out any of those, do feel free to go back and rewind. SWN, VFC, VWM, the bank stocks, and any of the pre-market earnings. Have fun tomorrow trading any of these stocks. If you do have a big green day, make sure to post your trades in our Discord server. And if you're not in our Discord server, do exclamation mark Discord to get the link so you can join it. You have tomorrow morning live stream? No, I don't do day trade morning streams or day trading live streams. I don't see a point in it. I don't see a use in it. It just hinders me as a trader. So I'm just gonna focus on trading when I'm trading, and then focus on streaming when I'm streaming. So I'll be back here tomorrow at 8 o'clock, same time, same place. Have a great night and have a better trading session tomorrow. And let's end green, baby. Let's end green on a great note, and keep on carrying that monster strength that we started this week on Monday. Okay, Monday strength going into tomorrow. I spread the vibes onto you guys. And on that note, good night.